Hey everyone. So I asked an AI how to build a Stargate. And the answer it gave me is pretty good. So I'm going to share it here. The question is basically, what are the steps for building a quantum Stargate? I ask it for a difficulty factor based on today's knowledge and a time estimate for each step, as well as a final estimate of the total time for building the Stargate. So what does it say? Below is a highly speculative science fiction style roadmap for a quantum Stargate, a device that in theory would allow instantaneous transit between star systems. Keep in mind that every step below assumes breakthroughs far beyond our current understanding of physics and engineering. So this beginning part of this answer is a disclaimer saying at the end, this is not a real plan, just in case I was misinformed about the purpose of this exercise. It's an exercise in creative long-term vision. Okay, thank you, Mr. AI. Let's continue here. Step 1, develop a unified theoretical framework. That's a good first step. Formulate a comprehensive theory that unifies quantum mechanics and general relativity to rigorously describe the conditions under which traversable wormholes or similar space-time structures could exist and be stabilized. Now, notice it gives a difficulty factor of 10. In fact, every single step in its response has a difficulty factor of 10, except for one which has a difficulty factor of 9. So we're talking pretty difficult. Estimated time 50 to 75 years. That's 2 to 3 generations. We'll all be dead by the time this first step is finished. So it says that this first step would represent a paradigm shift in physics comparable to the development of quantum theory in the early 20th century. Okay, well, step 2, research and engineering of exotic matter. Investigate and, if possible, manufacture forms of exotic matter or negative energy states. Such materials, materials, are theorized to be necessary to stabilize wormholes against collapse. Notes, exotic matter has only been hypothesized in theory, e.g. Kashmir effect hints, the Kashmir experiment with the two plates that come together because of negative energy between the plates, and engineering a stable macroscopic source of negative energy remains a major unknown. This step would require advances in both experimental physics and materials science. It's interesting how materials science enters into this step. You wouldn't think it, but apparently materials are the thing. Step 3, laboratory scale quantum wormhole experiments. Build small scale experimental setups aiming to produce transient microscopic wormhole-like phenomena. This may involve modifying state-of-the-art particle and high-energy experiments to test space-time manipulation at the quantum level. And we get a 9 on this one, but I would give this one a 12. Now, it says this is similar to early prototype work with supercolliders, except here you're trying to manipulate space-time itself. Well, good luck. I mean, for God's sake, what's going on here? It would be an astonishing breakthrough. Thank you. Step 4, design of energy generation and containment systems. Develop advanced energy sources and containment technologies capable of generating and maintaining the intense fields required to stabilize a quantum wormhole. Think of it as a next-generation version of superconducting magnets and plasma containment, but on an unprecedented scale. So this would be like that big fusion experiment that is being built with the huge toroid that stabilizes a plasma to generate fusion power. It's far from complete. It says here for this thing, 20 to 30 years. That's optimistic based on this fusion project that's going on. But says energy scales involved likely dwarf those of current super collider projects, requiring entirely new modes of power generation and possibly tapping phenomena like quantum vacuum energy. So this is interesting because vacuum energy actually is what's around a black hole. So all we have to do is find a black hole somewhere and then go to the event horizon and tap the quantum vacuum energy from that event horizon. But, if the Earth is in a black hole, at the center of a black hole, then that actually might be easier than we think. But of course, that's speculation. Step 5. Construct a prototype micro Stargate. Integrate the theoretical framework, exotic matter sources, and energy containment systems into a small-scale, controlled Stargate prototype designed to create a stable miniature wormhole. Initial tests might involve transmitting inanimate particles or signals. 50 to 70 years. It says this phase transitions the concept into an engineered device. I like that. It's getting practical here, getting beyond the theory and into the engineering. The prototype would serve as the critical proof of concept before any consideration of manned travel. So it's not shying away from the idea of Stargates being used for manned travel, which is what this is all about. Step 6. Safety testing and incremental scaling. Conduct rigorous safety tests, including non-human payload transits, while iteratively scaling the prototype from micro to mesoscale. This step addresses the enormous risks of uncontrolled wormhole formation or energy release. That's a scary sentence there. It's like, what do you mean? What do you mean uncontrolled wormhole formation? It's like you press the button, but then like 2 wormholes form, or you don't press a button, but overnight somehow a wormhole forms that then destroys the city of Chicago. I don't know what's going on here. Apparently the AI does. Notes: safety, risk mitigation, and regulatory frameworks would be front and center at this stage, a challenge that may require new scientific, ethical, and political paradigms. And this sounds a lot like what's needed for AI, doesn't it? New scientific, ethical, and political paradigms, which we don't have, by the way, for AI, which is a much smaller thing, but perhaps on the same level, we'll see. Step 7. Full-scale Stargate construction for interstellar travel. With proven concepts and safe scaling protocols, build the full-scale Stargate intended for instantaneous transit between distant star systems. Yeah, right on. This would include large-scale infrastructure development, precise energy manipulation facilities, and extensive remote control/safety systems. That's very important, this last part, because remember that on the other side of the wormhole, there is a destination. So we have this infrastructure that basically spans the stars, and you need some sort of safety precautions to make sure that the whole network is safe, right? So that's huge. And rightly, the AI gives this a 50 to 100 year time of completion. This is the whole infrastructure would take so much work. This final phase represents an engineering feat orders of magnitude beyond current projects. It assumes all preceding challenges have been overcome and that global collaboration and investment on an unprecedented scale have been achieved. All right, so let's look at the final time estimate. If these steps were followed sequentially with minimal overlap, total estimated time to build the very first quantum Stargate would be in the range of 250 to 500 years. Holy moly. In an optimistic scenario with significant parallel progress through international collaborations and breakthrough discoveries, one might speculate on a timeline of roughly 200 to 300 years from today. So we're all going to be dead by the time this is done. But perhaps we can start, I think it's with that fusion project, some of the engineers are retiring already who started the whole thing, 20 years ago. And people are taking over from them, and then they'll retire. And so it'll be the same thing with this. Conclusion: this roadmap is a thought experiment rather than a feasible plan. Again, disclaimer, this is not real, please. Each step represents a monumental leap in both theoretical insight and engineering capability. The challenges spanning fundamental physics to astronomical energy requirements, but we have that black hole that's nearby that we can tap. It's not going to be so bad. But that's speculation. Mean that the realization of a quantum stargate is as much a tale of future scientific evolution as it is an engineering project. But, I like this, getting practical here. I was thinking about the engineering part of it. Even if this speculative Stargate remains firmly in the realm of science fiction, exploring these ideas can inspire research in quantum gravity, exotic matter, and energy generation. Yes, so this will inspire the reader of this document to apply for a doctorate at their local university in physics and particle research, materials research, all that stuff, so that they can spend their whole life building a Stargate that will be finished 500 years from now. Well, that's pretty cool. That is cool. Well, thank you, AI. This has really helped me. Now I can fall asleep tonight and dream of travel to a distant star system.